The bank is a cathedral built to the god of money. Its ceilings stretch upwards into shadowed vaults, so high you could lose a prayer in them. The floors are a checkerboard of black and white marble, polished to a merciless sheen, reflecting the cold, distant light from impossibly tall windows. Every sound echoes. The soft click of a woman's heels on the stone. The rustle of a deposit slip. The hushed, reverent whisper of a teller speaking to a wealthy client. It is a place designed to make you feel small. Eleanor Vance feels small, but she refuses to be cowed by it. She sits ramrod straight in a leather chair that is too large and too cold. The chair faces a desk of dark, forbidding mahogany, a slab of polished wood the size of a sarcophagus. Her hands, wrinkled and gentle from a lifetime of kneading dough and tending gardens, are folded neatly over her worn but immaculate purse. Inside that purse is a folder. Inside the folder is a dream, meticulously documented with business plans, cost estimates, and letters of support from her community. She is here to ask for a loan. Not for herself, but for the children of her neighborhood. For a place they can go after school, a place with hot meals and tutors, a sanctuary from streets that are growing colder and harder every year. Across the mahogany expanse sits Arthur Sterling. He is not a man, he is a monument to his own success. He is carved from granite and prejudice, dressed in a suit so exquisitely tailored it seems fused to his skin. A sliver of gold from his watch peeks out from his cuff, catching the light. His hair is silver, perfect. His face is a mask of polite, professional contempt. He has the kind of face that has never been troubled by doubt, only by the minor inconvenience of other people's problems. He looks at Eleanor Vance not as a person, but as a risk assessment. A series of check boxes on a form, all of them ticking the wrong boxes. Old. Black. From the wrong side of the city. He has not even opened her folder, yet he has already declined the loan in his mind. The rest is just theater. His theater. So, Eleanor, he begins, his voice a low, condescending boom that seems to bounce off the high ceilings. He leans back in his throne-like chair, steepling his fingers beneath his chin. The picture of magnanimous power. You want to open a community kitchen, he says the words as if they are a foreign, distasteful dish he is being forced to sample. And an after-school program, Eleanor clarifies, her voice quiet but firm. It is a voice that has sung lullabies and read bedtime stories, a voice that has calmed fevers and commanded respect in equal measure. A safe place for the children. They have nowhere to go. The old center was closed down 2 years ago. Sterling allows a small, thin smile to touch his lips. It does not reach his eyes. His eyes are chips of ice. A noble sentiment, I'm sure. Very charitable. But this is a bank, not a charity. We invest in profitable ventures. We build wealth. We don't subsidize hobbies. Sitting in a smaller, less comfortable chair slightly behind his grandmother is Marcus Vance. He is silent. He is still. To Arthur Sterling, he is less than a ghost. He is a piece of furniture, an irrelevant accessory. Marcus is dressed in a simple gray hoodie, worn jeans, and sneakers that have seen better days. His head is down, his focus seemingly on his phone, which rests in his lap. He looks young, bored, and entirely out of place in this temple of finance. Sterling glanced at him once when they entered, a flicker of disdain in his eyes, a mental calculation that dismissed him as a nobody, probably some shiftless grandson along for a free ride. Marcus says nothing. He just listens. He watches the way Sterling's eyes dismiss his grandmother's life's work. He sees the subtle curl of his lip. He feels the oppressive weight of the room, a weight designed to crush spirits like Eleanor's. And he waits. It's not a hobby, Mr. Sterling, Eleanor says, her dignity a shield against his scorn. I have a complete business plan. Projections. We'll be eligible for city grants once we have the initial capital. It's all in the folder, she gestures with a hopeful, trembling hand toward the desk. The folder sits there, untouched. A silent testament to her effort, ignored. Sterling chuckles. It is a dry, grating sound, like stones grinding together. Projections. Everyone has projections. I have seen projections for underwater basket weaving empires and artisanal dog food boutiques. They are works of fiction. What I deal in, Eleanor, is fact. Collateral. Credit history. Assets. He picks up a single sheet of paper from his desk, her credit report, and holds it between two fingers as if it were contaminated. Your credit is adequate. For a woman in your position, the insult is wrapped in the language of finance, but it lands like a slap. But you have no significant assets. The property for this center is in a depreciating neighborhood. From a purely financial standpoint, it's a hole in the ground. We would be throwing money away. The air grows thick with unspoken words. Your neighborhood. Your people. You are not worth the risk. Eleanor's back, if possible, becomes even straighter. She has faced down landlords, employers, and illnesses with this same quiet fortitude. She will not break here. The people are the asset, Mr. Sterling. A child who gets a good meal and help with their homework is an investment in the future of this entire city. An admirable speech, Sterling says, his patience wearing visibly thin. He places her credit report back on the desk and pushes it away from him. A gesture of finality. But it does not change the numbers. The bank's answer is no. He does not say he is sorry. He does not offer alternatives. He delivers the verdict like a king passing sentence. The audience is over. He looks past Eleanor, his gaze landing on Marcus for the first time since they sat down. The disdain is no longer a flicker, it is a steady, burning flame. And I suggest you teach your grandson to dress appropriately when entering a place of business. This isn't a street corner. The words hang in the cold, marble air. A line has been crossed. Marcus looks up from his phone. Slowly. Deliberately. For the first time, his eyes meet Arthur Sterling's. There is no anger in them. Not yet. Just a profound, unnerving calm. A stillness that is more menacing than any shout. He does not say a word. He simply taps the screen of his phone. A small, red light begins to blink on its surface. Sterling smirks, a final act of dismissive arrogance. He believes he has won. He believes he has put these people, these insignificant specks, back in their place. He turns his attention to a stack of more important documents on his desk, the files of people who matter, people from the right neighborhoods, with the right assets, and the right skin color. He is a man who has never faced a consequence in his life. He has no idea that his life is already over. He just hasn't heard the news yet. Eleanor Vance feels a wave of weary disappointment wash over her. It is a familiar feeling, a taste she has known her whole life. The quiet no, the door gently, but firmly, closed in her face. The polite smile that is really a sneer. She had hoped, this time, it would be different. The plans were so solid. The need was so great. She gathers her purse, her movements slow and dignified. There will be no pleading. No begging. Her pride is the one asset Arthur Sterling cannot see on a credit report, and it is worth more than this entire building. Thank you for your time, Mr. Sterling, she says, her voice steady, betraying none of the hurt in her heart. Sterling doesn't even look up. He just waves a dismissive hand. Have a good day, Eleanor. The name is a final, casual insult, a reminder of her station. He is Mr. Sterling. She is just Eleanor. But Marcus does not stand up. He remains seated, his gaze fixed on the men behind the desk. The stillness around him is absolute. It is the calm at the center of a hurricane. We're not finished here, Marcus says. His voice is not loud, but it cuts through the cavernous office like a razor. It is a voice that carries an authority Sterling cannot immediately place, and the dissonance of it makes him finally look up, his brow furrowed in annoyance. Excuse me? Sterling asks, his tone dripping with incredulity. I believe I said the meeting was over. The loan is denied. Denied. Do you need me to spell it out for you, son? The word son is a weapon designed to infantilize and belittle. Marcus offers a small, cold smile. It is a terrifying thing. Oh, I understand that you've denied the loan. I'm very clear on that. I'm also clear on why. Sterling leans forward, a predator sensing a challenge to its dominance. This is no longer about finance. It is about power. And why is that? Do enlighten me. You, with your vast experience in risk assessment and corporate banking, the sarcasm is thick enough to choke on. He gestures around his opulent office. Please, share your wisdom. You didn't open the folder, Marcus says simply. He nods toward the desk, where Eleanor's dream sits, unopened. You didn't read the business plan. You didn't look at the letters of support from city council members. You didn't review the grant pre-approvals. You didn't see the architectural renderings or the volunteer sign-up sheets with over 200 names on them. He pauses, letting each failure hang in the air. You saw a black woman from Garrison Heights and you made a decision based on a single piece of paper and a lifetime of prejudice. A flush of angry red creeps up Sterling's neck. His mask of professional detachment is cracking. Now you listen to me, he snarls, his voice losing its polished boom and taking on a guttural edge. I will not be lectured on my professional conduct by some street kid in a hoodie. Your grandmother's application was denied based on sound financial principles. It is a bad investment. That is the beginning and the end of it. Now get out of my office before I have security escort you out. He reaches for the intercom button on his desk phone, his finger hovering over it. A threat. A promise. Eleanor puts a gentle hand on her grandson's arm. Marcus, let's go. It's not worth it, she has seen this before, the anger that flashes in a young man's eyes in the face of injustice. She fears where it will lead. Marcus covers her hand with his own, a silent reassurance. It's okay, Grandma. We're almost done. He never takes his eyes off Sterling. You threaten us with security. You talk about sound financial principles. Let's talk about some principles, shall we? He leans forward, placing his phone face down on the polished mahogany. The small red recording light is no longer visible, but its presence is felt. Let's talk about the Fair Housing Act. Let's talk about the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. Federal statutes, Mr. Sterling. Not suggestions. They prohibit discrimination on the basis of race or national origin. Sterling lets out a short, barking laugh. It is a sound of pure arrogance. Are you accusing me of racism? You have no idea who you're talking to. I have donated to minority scholarships. I sit on the board of the Urban Revitalization Fund. Your accusations are baseless and, frankly, slanderous. Are they? Marcus asks, his voice dropping to a near whisper. Let's look at your record, then. Last year, this branch processed 312 small business loan applications. Of those, 41 were from applicants in Precincts 7, 8, and 9, the predominantly black neighborhoods. Garrison Heights is in Precinct 9. Can you guess how many of those 41 applications were approved, Mr. Sterling? Sterling's face goes rigid. The flush of anger is replaced by a sudden, waxy pallor. I don't keep those kinds of statistics memorized. I do, Marcus says. The answer is 1. A single loan, for a fraction of the amount requested, to a barbershop that was co-owned by a white investor. That's an approval rate of 2.4% for minority-owned businesses from that part of the city. The approval rate for the rest of the city, the whiter parts of the city. 37%. That's not a statistical anomaly, Mr. Sterling. That's a pattern. That's a policy. It's called redlining. The word hangs in the air, heavy and poisonous. For the first time, a flicker of genuine fear appears in Arthur Sterling's icy eyes. The bravado falters. This young man in the hoodie is not who he seems. He has data. He has facts. This is not the conversation Sterling was prepared to have. That data is confidential, he stammers, his mind racing. How did you get access to that? Who are you? You called it a bad investment, Marcus continues, ignoring the question, pressing his advantage. The property. You said it was a depreciating neighborhood. That's funny. Because our real estate division's internal projections, updated just last week, show a 5-year growth forecast of 12% for that exact commercial corridor, thanks to a new municipal transport link. It's not a bad investment. It's a bargain. You just don't want people like my grandmother to have it. The walls of Sterling's office, once a fortress of his power, suddenly feel like they are closing in. The high ceilings seem to be pressing down. The polished desk feels like the lid of a coffin. He stares at Marcus, truly seeing him for the first time. The casual clothes, the calm demeanor, it's not a sign of weakness. It's a disguise. Who are you? Sterling repeats, his voice now a strained whisper, stripped of all its earlier arrogance. Eleanor Vance watches the exchange, her initial fear replaced by a burgeoning sense of awe. She has always known her grandson was smart, that he had a good job in the city, something with computers. But this is something else entirely. This is a cold, righteous fury, sharpened to a fine point. Marcus finally leans back in his chair. The hunter, having cornered his prey, can now afford to relax. He picks up his phone, swipes the screen, and places it on the desk again. This time, he turns it so Sterling can see. It's a call log. The most recent outgoing call was to a number labeled Corporate Security, Head Office. "You asked who I am," Marcus says, his voice level and calm. "That's a fair question." He reaches into the pocket of his hoodie and pulls out a slim, black wallet. He flips it open not to a driver's license, but to a corporate ID card. He slides it across the vast mahogany desk. It glides silently across the polished surface, coming to a stop directly in front of Arthur Sterling. Sterling stares at the card as if it's a venomous snake. He reads the name. Marcus Vance. And then he reads the title underneath. Regional Director, Community and Business Development. The blood drains from Arthur Sterling's face. Every last drop. He looks from the ID card to the young man in the hoodie, and his entire world shatters into a million pieces. The condescending sneers, the insults, the casual cruelty, it all comes rushing back to him, not as moments of triumph, but as the individual nails he has just hammered into his own coffin. The intercom on his desk buzzes, a harsh, jarring sound in the suddenly silent room. Sterling stares at it, paralyzed. Marcus reaches over, his movements unhurried, and presses the speaker button. "Yes, Cynthia." A nervous voice comes through the speaker. "Mr. Sterling. There are 2 gentlemen here from corporate. They say they're here to see you. They have an appointment with a Mr. Vance." Marcus smiles that cold, terrible smile again. "Send them in, Cynthia. Mr. Sterling and I are just finishing up." The heavy oak door to the office swings open. It does not creak, it sighs, a sound of finality. 2 men step inside. They are the antithesis of Arthur Sterling. They are not dressed in flashy suits of power, but in simple, functional gray suits that speak of quiet, unassailable authority. They do not look at the marble floors or the high ceilings. Their focus is singular. It is on the men behind the desk. Sterling looks like a statue that has just been told it is made of dust. His mouth hangs slightly open. His perfectly manicured hands tremble on the surface of his desk. The granite has crumbled. "Mr. Sterling," the firstman says, his voice flat and devoid of emotion. "I'm David Chen, head of corporate security. This is Michael Rivera, from internal audits." Sterling says nothing. He cannot speak. The words are trapped in his throat, choked by the sudden, terrifying realization of his own foolishness. He had stood on the edge of a cliff, puffed out his chest, and taken a proud step forward into thin air. Marcus stands up, moving with a fluid grace that Sterling now recognizes as the economy of motion that comes with true power. He walks over to his grandmother and helps her to her feet, his touch gentle. "Are you okay, Grandma?" Eleanor nods, her eyes wide with a mixture of shock and a fierce, swelling pride. She looks at her grandson, the boy she raised, and sees the powerful, just man he has become. Marcus turns his attention back to the room. He is in command now. This is his office. His theater. "Mr. Rivera," he says, his voice crisp and clear. "Mr. Sterling's terminal has been flagged for a full forensic audit. Effective immediately. I want every loan application he has processed for the last 5 years pulled and cross-referenced against demographic data. I want every email he has sent from his corporate account scanned for keywords related to race, neighborhood, and class. I want a full accounting of his consulting fees from preferred property developers." Rivera, the auditor, simply nods. He pulls a small, encrypted hard drive from his pocket. "Already underway, Mr. Vance. We started the moment you gave the signal." Sterling makes a small, strangled sound. A protest. A plea. You can't. This is an overreach. I have rights." Marcus turns his gaze on him. The calm is gone, replaced by a cold fire. You want to talk about rights? Did you talk about Eleanor Vance's right to a fair evaluation? Did you talk about the rights of the hundreds of other people from Garrison Heights whose dreams you dismissed without a second thought because they didn't fit your profile of who deserves success? He takes a step closer to the desk, his voice dropping lower, each word a hammer blow. You sat in this chair, in this temple you built to your own ego, and you played God. You decided who gets a chance and who doesn't. You didn't do it based on financial acumen. You did it based on bigotry. You are not a banker, Sterling. You are a gatekeeper for a system of prejudice, and your shift is over. Chen, the head of security, steps forward. Arthur Sterling, as per corporate policy regarding active investigations into federal compliance violations, you are hereby suspended, effective immediately. We will require your keys, your security pass, and all bank-issued property. He places a simple cardboard box on the corner of the mahogany desk. The universal symbol of corporate death. The humiliation is a physical force, pressing down on Sterling. His carefully constructed world, his identity, his power, all of it is being dismantled in front of his eyes. And the architects of his destruction are a woman he deemed worthless and a young man he dismissed as a thug. The irony is so profound, so crushing, it steals the very air from his lungs. My personal effects, he whispers, gesturing vaguely at the pictures on his credenza. A smiling wife. 2 perfect children in private school uniforms. A photo of him shaking hands with the mayor. The trappings of a successful life. They will be inventoried and sent to your home, Chen says flatly. Please clear your desk of any immediate personal items. Now. The order is absolute. Sterling, the king of this domain, is now a prisoner in it. He stumbles to his feet, his movements clumsy and uncoordinated. He begins to place small, pathetic items into the box. A silver pen. A framed photo. A coffee mug that says, "World's Best Dad." Each item is a relic from a life that no longer exists. Marcus turns to Michael Rivera. Michael, I want you to personally oversee my grandmother's loan application. The one Mr. Sterling so wisely denied. I want it approved. Not for the amount she asked for. Double it. And convert it to a grant from the bank's Community Reinvestment Fund. There will be no repayment. This is not a loan. It is an apology. And it is an investment. Rivera jots down a note. Consider it done, Marcus. Furthermore, Marcus continues, his voice ringing with authority, I want you to go back through those denied applications from the last 5 years. Every single one from precincts 7, 8, and 9. I want a team to reevaluate them. Honestly. Fairly. I want you to find every viable project we turned away and I want you to call them. We are going to make this right. This is not just about punishing one man. It is about dismantling the machine he operated. Sterling, now holding the pathetic cardboard box, looks up. His face is a mask of desperation. The arrogance has been stripped away, revealing the terrified, small man beneath. Vance, please. My family. My reputation. I have worked here for 25 years. Marcus looks at him, and for a moment, there is a flicker of something that might be pity, but it vanishes as quickly as it appears. He thinks of his grandmother, sitting in this chair, absorbing Sterling's casual cruelty with a grace the men could never comprehend. You should have thought of your reputation when you were sneering at a woman who has more integrity in her little finger than you have in your entire body, Marcus says, his voice like ice. You should have thought of your family when you decided to crush the dreams of other people's families. He walks to the door and holds it open for his grandmother. As for your 25 years of service, he adds, looking back at Sterling one last time. Consider it a 25-year head start on the unemployment line. I hear the golf course is hiring caddies. You already know how to carry the bags for rich men. The sardonic jab is the final twist of the knife. As David Chen and another security officer begin to escort the now broken men from his own office, Sterling's composure finally shatters completely. His face contorts in a spasm of rage and self-pity. You think you've won, he shrieks, his voice raw and pathetic. You're just one person. You can't change anything. This is how the world works. Marcus pauses in the doorway, his back to Sterling. He doesn't turn around. You're wrong, he says quietly, His words meant as much for his grandmother and the men in the room as for the men being led away. This is how the world works from now on. He and Eleanor step out into the grand lobby of the bank. The tellers and customers who had glanced at them with suspicion or indifference on their way in now stare with a mixture of fear and awe. The word is already spreading. The king has been deposed. The air in the Cathedral of Money seems different now. It feels a little warmer. A little brighter. As if a stained glass window has been cleaned, letting in a purer light. The deconstruction of Arthur Sterling is not a quiet affair. It is methodical, relentless, and brutally efficient. Marcus Vance does not believe in half measures. He understands that a weed is not defeated by trimming its leaves, you must rip it out by the roots and salt the earth where it grew. Michael Rivera's audit team descends upon the branch like a swarm of locusts. They are not the friendly, smiling auditors who come for routine checks. They are forensic accountants, digital investigators, and compliance sharks who smell blood in the water. They seal Sterling's office, treating it like a crime scene. They clone his hard drive, download his emails, and subpoena his phone records. The initial findings are worse than Marcus had suspected. Sterling was not just a casual bigot, he was a master of systemic discrimination. He had created a coded system within the bank's own software to flag and sideline applications from certain zip codes. He used internal chat logs to mock applicants with his cronies, using racist and classist slurs, believing the conversations were ephemeral and untraceable. He was wrong. The audit uncovers a kickback scheme. Sterling would deny legitimate loans to minority applicants, then refer them to a predatory lender with exorbitant interest rates. A lender in which, through a series of shell corporations, Sterling himself held a significant financial stake. He wasn't just denying dreams, he was profiting from the desperation he created. This is no longer just a corporate firing. This is a federal crime. Marcus sits in a conference room, 2 floors above what was once Sterling's office. Spreadsheets and documents cover the long table. He reviews the evidence with Rivera and the bank's chief legal counsel, a woman named Sarah Jenkins. Wire fraud, racketeering, multiple violations of the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, Jenkins says, ticking off the potential charges on her fingers. Her face is grim. The Department of Justice will have a field day with this. This goes beyond one bad employee, Marcus. This is a systemic failure. The liability for the bank could be catastrophic. The liability is the price of our ignorance, Marcus replies, his eyes hard. We let this fester. We valued profit margins over people, and this is the result. We're not going to hide this. We're not going to settle it quietly. We are going to get out in front of it. We are going to hand-deliver our own internal investigation to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Jenkins looks shocked. You want to invite the feds in? Voluntarily. Yes, Marcus says. We clean our own house. Publicly. We admit we failed, and we show them, with irrefutable action, how we are going to fix it. We will establish a $10 million restitution fund for every applicant illegally denied a loan by Sterling. We will fire every single employee who was complicit in his schemes. And we will promote from within, people from the communities we have failed, to ensure this never happens again. It is a bold, radical plan. It will be costly. It will be embarrassing. But it is the only way to truly cauterize the wound. Meanwhile, Arthur Sterling's world is imploding. His suspension is followed by a termination letter delivered by courier. The letter cites gross misconduct and criminal activity, voiding his severance package and his pension. The 25 years of service he pleaded for have evaporated into nothing. His corporate credit cards are declined. His access to the company car is revoked. He tries to call his colleagues, his friends, the people with whom he shared expensive lunches and rounds of golf. No one answers. He has become radioactive. His name is a liability, a stain to be avoided at all costs. His wife, a woman whose life was built upon the foundation of his income and social standing, is initially furious at the bank. But then the news reports begin to surface. First, a small article in the business section about a high-level executive being fired. Then, the real story breaks, leaked from sources within the investigation. The redlining. The kickbacks. The racist chat logs, quoted verbatim. She reads the vile things he wrote, the casual cruelty he deployed, and the carefully constructed image of her husband, the pillar of the community, dissolves. She sees him for what he is, a greedy, hateful man in a well-tailored suit. She packs her bags and takes the children to her sister's house. A week later, he is served with divorce papers. The petition cites moral turpitude. Stripped of his job, his wealth, and his family, Sterling is a ghost haunting the halls of his former life. He is forced to sell their sprawling suburban home to cover his mounting legal fees. The mayor, whose picture was once proudly displayed on his credenza, issues a public statement condemning him. The board of the Urban Revitalization Fund unceremoniously removes his name from their letterhead. His allies, the junior loan officers and branch managers who enabled his behavior, turn on him in a desperate attempt to save themselves. They line up to give statements to Rivera's investigators, painting Sterling as a rogue tyrant, a monster who forced them to comply. They offer up emails and anecdotes, each one another shovel of dirt on his professional grave. Their betrayal is swift and total, a testament to the transactional nature of their loyalty. One afternoon, Marcus receives a call. It is from Sterling's lawyer. Sterling wants a meeting. He wants to bargain. Marcus agrees. They meet not in a bank or a law office, but in a small, neutral conference room at a downtown hotel. Sterling is a shadow of his former self. His expensive suit is gone, replaced by a cheap, ill-fitting blazer. His face is gaunt, his eyes hollow and bloodshot. The granite has been ground down to gravel. Vance, he begins, his voice a hoarse croak. I know I made mistakes. I was arrogant. I said things, unforgivable things. Yes, you did, Marcus replies, his tone neutral. He offers no comfort, no absolution. I'm ruined, Sterling continues, his voice cracking. They're going to indict me. I'll lose everything. I'll go to prison. He leans forward, his hands clasped in a desperate plea. But you can stop it. You're the one who brought this all to light. If you tell the board, tell the prosecutors that I've learned my lesson, that I'll cooperate, maybe they'll be lenient. Marcus listens patiently until Sterling is finished. The silence that follows is heavy and suffocating. Let me tell you what's going to happen, Arthur, Marcus says, using his first name for the first time. The casual intimacy is more insulting than any title. You are going to be indicted. You are going to be convicted. Because you are guilty. You are going to serve time in a federal prison. And when you get out, your name will be synonymous with financial fraud and racial discrimination. You will never work in this industry, or any other respectable industry, again. He leans in, his eyes locking with Sterling's. You want leniency. Leniency is what you should have shown my grandmother. It's what you should have shown every person who walked into your office with a dream and was met with your contempt. You had the power to change lives for the better, and you used it to enrich yourself and enforce your own pathetic prejudices. You don't deserve leniency. You deserve to be a cautionary tale. Sterling slumps back in his chair, defeated. The last ember of hope dies in his eyes. He finally understands. This is not a negotiation. This is a sentencing. Why? Sterling whispers. Why go to all this trouble? For one old woman. For one little loan. Marcus thinks for a moment. He thinks of his grandmother's quiet dignity. He thinks of the kids in Garrison Heights who need a safe place to go. He thinks of the weight of history, of all the closed doors and silent no's that people like Eleanor have faced for generations. Because I needed you to do what you did, Marcus says, the final, devastating truth revealed. I knew about your numbers, Arthur. The audit was already in motion before I ever walked into your office. But I didn't just want your data. I wanted your soul. I needed the world to see how you treat people when you think no one is watching. When you think they have nothing. When you think you are untouchable. He stands up. My grandmother's loan application wasn't a request, Arthur. It was a test. And you failed spectacularly. He leaves Arthur Sterling sitting alone in the beige conference room, a man utterly and completely annihilated, left with nothing but the wreckage of his own arrogance. The climax of Arthur Sterling's downfall is not a dramatic courtroom confession. It is something far more modern and far more humiliating. The bank, under Marcus's direction, holds a press conference. It is a massive affair. The CEO, a man who rarely makes public appearances, stands at a podium in the grand lobby of the headquarters. Marcus stands beside him. Eleanor Vance sits in the front row, flanked by community leaders from Garrison Heights. The CEO issues a full, unreserved apology to the city, and specifically to the communities Sterling targeted. He announces the $10 million restitution fund. He announces the new diversity and inclusion initiatives. He announces Marcus Vance's promotion to Vice President of Community Reinvestment for the entire North American division. Then, a journalist asks the inevitable question. Is there any truth to the rumors of a recording of the initial meeting between Mr. Vance's grandmother and Mr. Sterling? The CEO looks to Marcus. Marcus steps up to the microphone. The room falls silent. Yes, Marcus says. There is a recording. We had not planned to release it, out of respect for my grandmother's privacy. But she and I have discussed it, and she has insisted. She believes people need to hear the truth in his own words. He nods to a technician. And then, they play it. The sound echoes through the marble cathedral. Arthur Sterling's voice, booming and condescending, fills the space. This is a bank, not a charity. We don't subsidize hobbies. Your credit is adequate. For a woman in your position. The assembled press, the bank employees, the entire city listening online, they hear it all. They hear the casual disdain. They hear the sneering dismissal of a community's dream. And then they hear the final, damning line. And I suggest you teach your grandson to dress appropriately when entering a place of business. This isn't a street corner. A collective gasp goes through the room. It is one thing to read about prejudice in a report, it is another to hear its ugly, arrogant voice. In that moment, Arthur Sterling is not just a fired banker. He is the living embodiment of a system of quiet, corporate bigotry that has ruined countless lives. He is utterly and publicly disgraced. The recording is the final nail. It goes viral. It is played on every news channel. It becomes a flashpoint for a national conversation about economic justice. Arthur Sterling's name becomes a verb, a synonym for arrogant prejudice. 2 weeks later, a grand jury hands down a 27-count indictment. The charges range from wire fraud to conspiracy. Facing a mountain of evidence and universal public condemnation, Arthur Sterling accepts a plea bargain. The sentencing is a quiet, somber affair in a federal courtroom. The once powerful banker stands before the judge, dressed in a cheap suit bought off the rack, his shoulders slumped in defeat. He is a ghost of the men who sat behind the mahogany desk. The judge reads the sentence. 15 years in a medium-security federal prison. Full financial restitution. He is permanently barred from ever working in the financial industry again. As the U.S. Marshals lead him away in handcuffs, his gaze sweeps the courtroom. He is looking for a familiar face, a friendly eye, a shred of sympathy. He finds none. He is utterly alone. He does, however, see Eleanor Vance sitting in the back row. She is not there to gloat. She is there to bear witness. To see it through to the end. Their eyes meet for a brief, final moment. In her gaze, there is no hatred. There is no triumph. There is only a profound, quiet sorrow for a man who had so much and chose to do so little good with it. That look of pity is the final, most devastating punishment of all. It confirms his utter irrelevance. He is not a monster to be feared. He is just a small, sad man who made the biggest mistake of his life. He underestimated a grandmother's dream, and the grandson who would do anything to protect it. The fallout is swift and absolute, a karmic tidal wave that washes away the corrupt and elevates the worthy. For Arthur Sterling, the 15-year sentence is only the beginning of his ruin. Stripped of his wealth, his assets are seized to help pay into the restitution fund. His name is erased from every plaque and donor wall in the city. When he enters the federal correctional facility, he is no longer Arthur Sterling, the titan of finance. He is inmate #73406-824. He trades his tailored suits for a drab prison uniform. His mahogany desk is replaced by a steel bunk in a cramped cell he shares with 2 other men. The quiet, deferential respect he once commanded is replaced by the brutal, unforgiving hierarchy of prison life. He is a man made of soft hands and a loud mouth in a world that respects neither. His fall is not just from grace, it is into a living hell of his own making. The cronies who enabled him are not spared. The 2 junior loan officers who were most frequently CC'd on his racist emails are fired and blacklisted from the industry. The branch manager who turned a blind eye to his practices is demoted to a teller position at a remote branch in the coldest part of the state, a humiliating exile. The predatory lender he was in business with is shut down by the state attorney general, its owners facing their own set of criminal charges. The entire corrupt ecosystem is purged. For Eleanor Vance, the rewards are as profound as Sterling's punishments were severe. The grant from the bank is more than enough to buy the derelict building outright and renovate it into a state-of-the-art facility. It is named the Eleanor Vance Community Kitchen and Learning Center. It becomes a beacon of hope in Garrison Heights. The kitchen serves hundreds of hot, nutritious meals every day. The classrooms are filled with children getting help with their homework from volunteer tutors. The sound of laughter echoes in halls that were once silent and decaying. Eleanor does not retire. She becomes the center's director, its heart and soul. She knows every child's name, every family's story. The city honors her with its highest civilian award, the Key to the City. She accepts it not for herself, but on behalf of her community, a community that was underestimated for far too long. She becomes a symbol of quiet strength and the power of a dream deferred but never abandoned. For Marcus Vance, the victory is not just personal, it is systemic. His promotion is not a token gesture. He is given real power, a real budget, and a mandate for change. He dismantles the old, biased algorithms used in loan processing and helps develop a new system based on more holistic metrics, including community impact and personal character. He establishes a mentorship program within the bank, pairing senior executives with promising young employees from minority backgrounds, ensuring that the faces in the boardrooms begin to reflect the faces on the streets. The restitution fund he created successfully compensates over 200 families and small business owners who were wrongfully denied loans by Sterling. Lives are changed. Businesses that were on the brink of collapse are saved. New ones are started. A generation of wealth that would have been strangled in its cradle is allowed to grow. The impact of his actions ripples outwards, healing a wound in the city that had festered for decades. He doesn't just get one man fired, he changes the rules of the game. The bank itself, after the initial public relations nightmare, sees a surprising outcome. By embracing transparency and taking radical steps to correct its failings, it gains a new kind of customer. People who had long felt excluded from traditional banking begin to open accounts. Community leaders and small business owners see the bank not as an adversary, but as a potential partner. Profits, in the long run, actually increase. Doing the right thing turns out to be good business. The karmic balance is restored. Every villain is punished, their ruin complete and satisfyingly detailed. Every hero is rewarded, their success a direct result of their integrity. And the system that allowed the injustice to occur is not just exposed, but fundamentally reformed. The circle of justice is closed, tight and perfect. 2 years later. The Eleanor Vance Community Kitchen and Learning Center is a hive of joyful activity. The smell of freshly baked bread wafts from the kitchen, mingling with the scent of floor wax and old books. In one room, a group of teenagers works on a coding project, their faces illuminated by the glow of laptop screens. In another, younger children sit at round tables, their heads bent over math problems, a volunteer tutor leaning in to offer a quiet word of encouragement. Eleanor Vance moves through the space like a queen in her castle. She is not behind a desk, she is on the floor, wiping down a sticky table, adjusting a little girl's hair ribbon, tasting the soup to make sure it has enough salt. Her gentle authority is the invisible force that holds this place together. She is home. Marcus Vance stands near the entrance, watching her. He is not wearing a hoodie today. He is dressed in a sharp but understated suit, the kind of clothing that signifies a man who is comfortable with power but does not need to flaunt it. He is not here in his official capacity as a vice president. He is here as a grandson, stopping by on his way home from work. A young woman, a new intern at the bank named Maria, stands beside him. She is from Garrison Heights, the first recipient of a new scholarship program Marcus created. He is her mentor. "It's amazing what you did here, Mr. Vance," Maria says, her voice filled with a genuine, youthful awe. "You changed everything." Marcus watches his grandmother laugh with a group of children, her face radiant with a pure, uncomplicated happiness. "I didn't do it," he says quietly. "She did." I just opened the door. He turns to Maria, a serious but kind expression on his face. Never forget that, Maria. The power isn't in the title or the corner office. It's in the people who are doing the work, day in and day out. Our job is just to make sure they get a fair chance. To open the doors that men like Arthur Sterling try to lock. The name hangs in the air for a moment, an echo from a past that feels a lifetime away. Arthur Sterling was recently denied parole. He will serve his full sentence. His name is a footnote in a story that is no longer about him. It is about the world that was built from his ashes. The story of Arthur Sterling serves as a stark and timeless moral. It is a testament to the fact that arrogance is a poison that rots from the inside out. He believed his power was absolute, his position unassailable. He confused his title with his worth and his prejudice with wisdom. His fatal flaw was not just his bigotry, but his profound inability to see the humanity in those he deemed beneath him. He looked at a loving grandmother and saw a liability. He looked at a determined grandson and saw a nobody. In the end, he was not brought down by a rival banker or a stock market crash. He was destroyed by the very people he underestimated. His downfall is a powerful reminder that true strength does not lie in a fancy suit or a booming voice, but in dignity, integrity, and the quiet, unyielding pursuit of justice. He thought he was the gatekeeper, but he was merely a lock, waiting for the right key to turn. And that key was held all along in the steady hands of those he tried so hard to keep out.